Chapter 1. The Silent House. It was a cold, quiet night when I first heard about Alyssa's death. My name is Jamie, and I live in a small town called Riverwood. Nothing exciting ever happens here. But that night, everything changed. I was walking home from work. The streets were dark, and the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. The air smelled like rain, and I held my coat close. My house is at the end of Maple Street, near the old park. It's a peaceful place, but sometimes it feels too lonely. When I turned the corner, I saw the police cars. Red and blue lights flashed against the houses. My heart started to beat fast. What was going on? I walked closer and saw that the cars were parked in front of Alyssa's house. Alyssa was my neighbor. She lived alone, and we didn't talk much. But I always saw her in the mornings, watering her flowers or reading a book on her porch. I stopped near the edge of the sidewalk. A police officer stood by the door. He looked serious. I wanted to ask him what had happened, but I was too nervous. People from the neighborhood stood in small groups, whispering. I caught pieces of their conversations. "They found her inside," one woman said. "She's dead." "Dead? Are you sure?" a man asked, his voice shaky. The woman nodded. "Someone killed her." I felt a chill run down my back. Someone killed Alyssa? I couldn't believe it. Things like that didn't happen in Riverwood. This was a safe place. Who would hurt her? And why? I decided to go home. My house was just a few steps away, but it felt like the longest walk of my life. I locked the door behind me and sat on the couch. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop thinking about Alyssa. She was kind and quiet. Who would want to harm her? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the flashing lights and the police at her door. I thought about the last time I saw her. It was 2 days ago. She smiled and waved at me while she picked up her mail. Was someone watching her even then? The next morning, the news spread fast. Everyone in town was talking about Alyssa. At the coffee shop, at the park, even at the grocery store, people whispered about her death. Some said it was a robbery. Others thought it was something more personal. But no one knew for sure. I decided to visit my friend Sam. Sam and I grew up together. He's a curious person, always asking questions and looking for answers. If anyone could figure out what was going on, it was him. "Jamie, come in," Sam said when I knocked on his door. He lived in a small apartment above the hardware store. His place was full of books and old newspapers. I told him everything I saw the night before, the police cars, the neighbors, the whispers. Sam listened carefully, nodding his head. "This is strange," he said. "Alyssa didn't have enemies. Why would someone kill her?" "I don't know," I said, "but it's scary. What if the killer is still here? In Riverwood?" Sam's eyes lit up. "Then we have to find out who it is." "What? Us? No way," I said. "That's the police's job." "The police don't know this town like we do," Sam argued. "We grew up here. We know the people, the secrets. We can help." I wasn't sure. The idea of looking for a killer scared me. But at the same time, I wanted answers. I wanted to know who killed Alyssa and why. "Okay," I said, But we have to be careful. Sam smiled. Of course. Now, let's start with what we know. We spent the rest of the day talking about Alyssa. Who were her friends? Did she have family? Did anyone in town have a problem with her? We made a list of people to talk to. The first name on the list was Mrs. Carter, the woman who lived across the street from Alyssa. She was always watching the neighborhood. If anyone saw something, it would be her. That evening, we went to Mrs. Carter's house. She was sitting on her porch, knitting. When she saw us, she smiled. "Hello, Jamie. Hello, Sam," she said. "What brings you here?" "We wanted to ask you about Alyssa," Sam said. "Do you know what happened?" Mrs. Carter's smile faded. She put down her knitting and looked at us closely. "It's terrible," she said. "Poor Alyssa, she didn't deserve this." "Did you see anything unusual?" I asked. "Anyone going to her house? Anything strange?" Mrs. Carter thought for a moment. "Well, 2 nights ago, I saw a man standing near her gate. He was tall and wore a dark jacket. I couldn't see his face, but he looked suspicious. He stood there for a while, then walked away." Sam and I exchanged looks. This was the first clue. "Did you tell the police?" Sam asked. Mrs. Carter nodded. "Yes, but I don't think they took it seriously. They said they'd look into it." We thanked her and left. As we walked back to Sam's apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about the man Mrs. Carter saw. Who was he? And what was he doing near Alyssa's house? "This is just the beginning," Sam said. "We'll find out the truth, Jamie. I promise." I hoped he was right, but deep down, I was afraid. The truth might be more dangerous than we thought.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. See you soon.